Hello there, everyone. We got another horror movie tier list for you today. This time we're looking at the years 2015 to 2019. If you missed the last video in this new horror movie tier list series I'm going to do, I looked at years 2020 to 2023, so if you want to go check that out first, awesome. If you want to check it out after, that's also awesome. But let's get right into it. Make sure you like the video if you do like the video, and subscribe for more stuff like this, I guess. So kicking off our tier list, we got 13 and 14 cameras. I'm going to start off with 14 cameras. I made a video called My Friend Made Me Watch 14 Cameras, and I watched it not knowing anything about it. It is the sequel to 13 Cameras, so, I guess the movie is at a bit of a disadvantage for me not understanding much or knowing what happened in the previous film. I thought it was not worth my time. I did not enjoy watching it. I really just did not have a good time. This movie alone, it goes a no. It goes a no. It just, oh my god, probably one of the worst movies I've seen. Now we have 13 cameras. Here's where I'm like, okay, this is the first movie. It's months or even like a year removed from watching 14 cameras. Maybe this will explain something from 14 cameras, or maybe it'll just be a better movie. 13 cameras, I just flat out did not like it, and I got nothing out of it, and it was not. It's mainly marriage problems mixed in with creepy guy stalking them through cameras. If you didn't get the gist of the title, it's 13 cameras. There's hidden cameras around an Airbnb or a rented house or whatever, and this creepy guy watches them, and it's like, it's nasty and it's kind of weird. Not anything that made me go, wow, that was a crazy movie. But yeah, it was just, both movies, not good. Moving on to Annabelle Comes Home. Annabelle Comes Home, the third Annabelle movie, is fun. It doesn't do a whole lot for me, but it is fun. They're in the Warrens' house, these three girls, their daughter and two people they know. I forget the names. I haven't seen this movie in a while. I think I watched it a couple times, like a couple years ago. But the Warrens' basement full of trinkets and haunted objects. They terrorize the poor girls in the house. Some cool, scary little moments. And, it's a fine movie. It's solid. I'm going to put it in good. I can't remember much from it, but I know I had an enjoyable time watching it. But now we have Annabelle Creation. I really love Annabelle Creation. It's the second Annabelle movie, and it's like the origin story. A little girl gets hit by a vehicle within like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie. Absolutely jaw-dropping. And yeah, we get these orphans moving into this house where they can stay, but there just so happens to be some crazy things going on inside of this house. There are a lot of creepy moments in this movie, like the father holding up a cross and his fingers are getting bent back. That scene sticks in my head a lot. We also have this one girl who can't walk very well due to an illness, like she has crutches, so she has to use one of those chairs that go up and down stairs, and while she's trying to get down, running away from some crazy spirit, it's getting stuck. And all crazy crap is going on around her. And there are just a lot of fun moments in this movie. It's my favorite Annabelle movie and one of my favorite Conjuring universe movies. I'm not going to put it in best because it can drag a little bit, but I enjoy it every time I watch it, so I will put it in great. And now moving on to Better Watch Out. It is a Christmas horror movie. This little shit is trying to impress his babysitter, who is totally not into him, and he goes crazy. And yeah, cocky little kid, a lot of trouble going around the house. I believe there's even a dude who sits in a chair. The kid and his friend swing a paint can off the second story and it whacks him right in the face, like just crushing his head. You can watch this movie like once a year around Christmas time, if you like Christmas horror movies. I think it does very well at what it tries to do. It's not one of my personal favorites, but I can say that it is a good movie, so it's gonna go in good. And here's Blair Witch. I believe it came out in 2016. It is a reboot of the Blair Witch Project, and if my memory serves me right, I believe they do pretty much nothing different except better quality, and instead of 3 people out in the woods, there's like 4 or 5. I mean, it's okay, but it's nothing special. It's just doing what the first movie did, but it's gonna go in meh. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I totally am remembering stuff wrong, and this movie is different, but I remember watching it and just going, it's fine. Well, not terrible. It's going in meh. The Boy. This movie I should have liked because it has a crazy and wild out-of-pocket, out-of-nowhere ending, but I still, honestly, and I watched this movie for the first time maybe like a year and a half ago, I still don't know how to feel about the ending. I didn't think I was going to like the movie going in, but it kind of won me over halfway through. Spoiler, the ending, it's a guy living in the walls or something. Like, what the absolute hell? Endings like that are out of nowhere and a huge twist usually are awesome. When a movie has a giant twist like Malignant or Barbarian, that is my stuff right there. I live for that. But this won me over being what it was. And the twist was like, that's kind of crazy, but at the same time, I don't even know if that makes a whole lot of sense. I just don't know how to feel about it. And I'm sure you could say the same thing for movies like Barbarian and Malignant. I just don't know how to feel about The Boy. It probably is just like bottom of good. I think it's a okay movie, you know. I had an alright time watching it, but I don't know. I still, for some reason, don't know how to feel about it. And now we have Brightburn. We got like a super villain origin story, but if it was a horror movie, which I think is a very cool idea. This couple can't get pregnant, but a little baby boy from outer space lands by their house. They're like, all right, we can keep it, I guess. And as this kid approaches puberty or is going through puberty, he kind of realizes that he's like hella strong, that he's like violent, and he can do a lot of damage to a lot of things. A lot of cool kills and somewhat freaky moments in this movie. I think it's a very interesting movie, and I like it quite a bit. But I think it's around like Better Watch Out, where it's a good movie, not one of my favorites, but if it's on, I will gladly sit down and watch it. Honestly, I'd put it above Annabelle Comes Home. I really dig this movie, and you know, maybe the more I watch it, it might go up to great. Now, this movie I added just because I had a Discord movie night, and if people from that Discord or my community are watching this video right now, they'll remember this one. I know Sean, if you're listening to this, I know you'll remember this one. We got Clownado. Clownado is exactly what the title is. There's a bunch of tornadoes that bring a bunch of like demon clowns around, and they terrorize a little small town. I don't remember what the story is. I know there's like a circus, obviously, and maybe like a baby got stolen. Or like someone ran away from the circus, and now these clowns are like, oh, we'll get our child back by being tornado clowns. I really couldn't tell you, but I remember the quality is not there. There are some fun moments, I will not lie. It is an outlandish idea, tornado clowns, but it is just nothing. I have almost completely wiped this from my memory. I can barely tell you what it was about. It's going above 14 and 13 cameras, because at least this was like an interesting watch. These two were just like, okay, can this end now? But yeah, Clownado goes top and no. 3, 2, 1. Whoa, Countdown. Countdown is a fine horror movie. Isn't anything too crazy in my opinion. I watched it one time. It flew by. Thought it was okay. Nothing special. Interesting concept for a horror movie. I feel like if maybe it had a bit more to it, a bit more meat on the bones, like the concept is cool, but it just hasn't stuck with me. It's gonna go in meh, because it's nowhere near as bad as these three down here, but I feel like if a movie isn't either really good or really bad, and it's more just in, like, forgettable territory, that's not really a good thing. So it's just gonna hang out in meh, but I don't recall it being a terrible movie by any means. And now we have the opposite of terrible, depending on who you ask. We have Cult of Chucky. I believe this is the most recent Chucky movie to come out, the last Chucky movie to come out. Now they're doing the whole series, which I still need to watch. Cult of Chucky is a lot of fun. We're in a mental institute. We still got Nika running around as our main character, and I love Nika. I thought her in Curse of Chucky was awesome. We even have Andy coming back for this one. Jennifer Tilly is, I think, in there around the end. But there's just a lot of fun to be had with this movie. We get 3 Chuckies, and their banter and their back and forth is fun. I think the story for it is pretty good. It is one of my favorite Chucky movies. I think it's going to go in great. Would I put it above Annabelle Creation quality-wise? I think Annabelle Creation has a bit more quality to it, but Cult of Chucky is just a lot of fun. I think I'm going to leave it a bit under Annabelle Creation, but if you haven't seen Cult of Chucky and you're able to watch it, please watch it. It is a blast. And now we have The Conjuring 2. Going back to the Conjuring universe, I said Annabelle Creation is one of my favorites in the Conjuring universe. The Conjuring 2, I think, is my favorite Conjuring universe movie. I love The Conjuring 2. The Nun, even though I don't like her standalone movie. Valak in this movie is like scary, like, oh damn, she's a big threat, isn't she? And then we have my boy, the Crooked Man. James Wan, I've said this every time I bring up the Crooked Man. James Wan, I know you said it's not gonna happen, and it's off the table or whatever, but James Wan, please, James Wan, if you can hear me, please. I need my Crooked Man movie right now. I will go see it opening night. I will sit front row, even though that wouldn't be the best place to sit for a movie in a movie theater. But rest assured, I will be there opening night. Yeah, but The Conjuring 2 is amazing. The Warrens are back again, being wholesome and sweet. Ed Warren even breaks out the acoustic guitar and plays a little something that's very nice. They're helping out this little British family. This poor family's daughter is being, like, possessed by this old grumpy spirit. Some pretty good scares in this one as well, but mainly the Crooked Man is the standout for me. I know he only has a couple of moments, but, dude, I love the Crooked Man so much. I love this movie so much. I think it is one of my favorite horror movies ever. In my top 100 horror movies video that you should definitely go check out if you have the time for it. It's like nearly an hour long, I think. I don't exactly remember where I put it, but I know it's in that top 10 or really close to it. I love The Conjuring 2 so much. It's going in best. Sticking with the Conjuring universe, we have The Curse of La Llorona. This movie's okay. Definitely on the weaker side of the Conjuring universe. I believe it got like taken out. Like it isn't canon. I don't know exactly what the whole deal with this movie is. Just like Countdown, I watched it one time and I remember bits and pieces. I honestly don't really know what to say about this movie. I mean, La Llorona is kind of creepy and has some creepy moments, but definitely a movie I don't care if I ever see again. If I watch it again, cool. If I never do, I don't think I'd be missing out on much. Maybe I need to rewatch it, that way I can get more of a description for it. But it's just okay. I'll put it above Countdown, and honestly, because there's probably a lot more quality to it, I'll put it above Blair Witch 2016. It's going top of meh, and oh boy, here we have The Dead Don't Die. I remember seeing a trailer for this movie, and when I finally got HBO Max back in whatever year, I saw this movie on it, and I believe it was the first movie on HBO Max I ever watched, because I was like, oh, the trailer, all-star cast, you got Bill Murray, Adam Driver, Selena Gomez, I believe, is in it, Tilda Swinton is in it. I might have gotten some of those names wrong, I don't know. But either way, you know, there's a lot of hype for me personally about this movie. And I watched it, and I think it's supposed to be like mainly all satire and just, I don't know if dark humor is the word. It's just, I don't know. This was such a letdown. Maybe it just wasn't for me. Like, I was expecting so much. Not even so much, just like, oh, fun cast. I'm hoping to have a good time. And I was so disappointed. Like I said, maybe I didn't understand it or it wasn't for me, but I was just so let down by this. It doesn't go in no, but it goes at the bottom. The cast is still fun to watch and seeing them interact, and some of the dialogue is funny, but it is just, man. I'd watch it again over Countdown. Maybe it's another one of those movies I need to go and watch again, but the only thing I really remember about the movie is just being so disappointed by it. A movie I wasn't disappointed by is Escape Room. I thought I was gonna be like, oh, it's middle of the road, it's okay. But Escape Room is actually a lot of fun. Love the characters and how they're all, like, linked, not together, but they all have a reason for being there. It's almost like a Saw theme where, like, you got a reason for being put in this game. But each level of the escape room, each floor, is designed really cool. I love the look of every room, from the snowy area to the upside down room, to the trippy visual effects where I forgot what happens, but like I think they get something on their fingers and makes them go all dizzy like they're tripping on acid or something, but that looks really funky and weird and I like it. Escape Room's just so much fun. I've seen it a couple times when it pops up on TV, and it's another one of those movies where if it comes on TV and I got nothing to do, I will gladly watch it again. It's gonna go probably bottom of great. It's not as fun as Cult of Chucky, but I think it definitely is around the same quality as Annabelle Creation. And here is The Gallows. I heard nothing but bad things about this movie. I watched it for a video I was gonna make, I think top 10 horror movies on HBO Max, and it was on there, like, oh, I'll give it a shot, maybe I'll really like it. And I did not give a single damn. I didn't care. Like, it's kind of cool at some points, like the whole, there's a ghost haunting this, like, play production or whatever, because they got hanged when they were younger in the play and they died, and yada yada. And there's some cool, scary moments, like the hangman kind of like popping up behind the one girl, I think, and a girl getting pulled away by her neck, something like that. It could be in the same category as The Countdown, but at least Countdown I kind of forgot what happened and I thought it was okay. The Gallows, I remember a good chunk of what happened and I thought it was It's gonna go top of no. I did not care for it whatsoever. But actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, now that I've put it in no and looked at what it was next to, I don't think it deserves to be in the tier as Clownado 14 and 13 cameras. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and I'll put it bottom of meh. There you go. You know, alright, The Gallows, you kind of disappointed me, and I did not have a good time watching you, but, you know, I won't diss you like that. I won't diss you too bad. Next up is Get Out. What a great horror movie Get Out is. Lots of, like, I love Bradley Whitford, and he's in it, so yippee. A lot of strange and weird moments as we get to the reveal of what the family is actually about to do to poor Daniel Kaluuya. We have The Sunken Place, which has a cool look to it, and, like, the effect of just sinking into the chair is, like, gnarly. The last 30 minutes or so are an absolute blast with him trying to get out of the house. The mounted deer head kill with the antlers is a lot of fun. Then we also get the almost heartbreaking ending where a cop car pulls up and it's like, ah, damn, this does not look good. But it's just his buddy there as well. Sorry if you haven't seen it and I just kind of spoiled that for you, but, you know, I feel like you should have expected spoilers on this list. But anyway, moving on. This movie, Very, very good. I've only watched it once, I've yet to rewatch it, and I've been wanting to rewatch it for a while now. But my current feelings are still, pretty good for this movie. It's gonna go in great, probably under Escape Room. I think Escape Room, there's a lot more fun to be had, but Get Out, filled with quality, also some funny moments in there as well. And that's pretty much all I have to say about Get Out. Now we have Halloween 2018, one of the first horror movies I watched in theaters after getting into the genre. Probably one of the best horror requels out there. Michael Myers, when he finally gets his mask back from those two podcasters, and like the slow-mo, him standing outside that like mechanic shop and gas station or whatever, and he's slowly putting the mask back on. What a shot that is. I love it so much. Also, it's always great to see Jamie Lee Curtis back as Laurie Strode. She's ready to kick some Michael Myers ass whenever she needs to. She has her whole house decked out as like a safe house. There's even a bunker or whatever underneath. Pretty much everything about this movie works for me. It's gonna either sit top of great, but honestly, I am kind of arguing with myself internally whether or not I should put it in like bottom of best. I think it's right in the middle. I think it's gonna go very top of great, but it kind of hangs right with Annabelle Creation in that borderline great and best tier, so it's gonna probably go just top of great for now. Maybe I'll move it up. Next up is Happy Death Day. I'm not gonna lie, it has been a while since I've watched this movie, and I'm having a hard time remembering stuff about it, but I know it's a blast. It's just like Groundhog Day, where every day this girl gets killed and she wakes up and she has to figure out who the hell is the one doing it in order to stop the cycle, and I think it's executed very well. Again, it's another movie I want to rewatch. I'm gonna put it top of good, but I don't feel right putting it top of good because I really can't remember anything about this movie. I watched it on TV so long ago, and I'm having such a hard time remembering, but I know it's good. It's not meh. I think I'm gonna put it top of good. Maybe after a rewatch I can see it going in like bottom of great or something, but for now I'm gonna leave it top of good, and I will probably rewatch it soon enough. Now here's a movie that originally wasn't going to be on this tier list. It came on Pluto TV a few nights ago, and I was like, you know what? I'll watch it. Why not? And I thought it was going to be just okay. I remember watching the kill count for it. I'm like, oh, this movie seems kind of interesting. I doubt I'll ever watch it. But lo and behold, here we are. And after watching it, I gotta say, it kind of beat my expectations a little bit. I like the premise. Some of the characters can be a little annoying at times. But by the end of the movie, I was like, all right, I'll cut them some slack. They're playing super hardcore horror fans, and they're enjoying their night at this little theme park for horror. So I can't blame them for being over the moon excited. If you've seen this movie, you probably know what characters I'm talking about. Although the killer looks kind of basic, him just standing in plain sight and slowly stalking this girl while, security's like, hey, he's one of the scarers that work here, dude. Like, what are we gonna do about it? I think they pulled off the concept really well. I think it's gonna go somewhere in top of good, just beating Brightburn by a little bit. Oh boy, here we go. We got Hereditary. A lot of people love this movie to death and think it's the best ever. A lot of people are like, oh, this movie sucked, and it's not the best ever. I am definitely in the middle, where I think it's creepy. The overall tone of the movie is very sad and grim and dark. Obviously, you got the decapitation, which is absolutely gnarly. This movie is hella depressing, and I think I've only watched it once or twice, and, I'm not the biggest fan of Hereditary. I think it's alright. I don't hate it whatsoever. It's not gonna go in meh. I like to have fun when I watch my horror movies, it could be scary and it could be sad at times, but if we end up picking things up, I'm with it. There's some pretty creepy moments to it, and I gotta give it its flowers. It has some pretty terrifying moments, but it is gonna go somewhere in good. I'm not exactly sure where. I think top of good. I do think it's one of the more standout horror movies to come out within the past decade, so I'm gonna give it its props. Top of good it goes. Next up we got Hush, a home invasion movie where the main girl that's getting her home invaded is deaf, and that's a pretty interesting scenario to be in, but she's very strong and capable of defending herself. It's always cool to see a badass survivor take on a super crazy killer. There are a lot of moments where you think the bad guy's gonna get taken out, but just something happens to screw up the plans, and we're kind of back at square one. Hush is one of my favorite horror movies, and I enjoy it every time I watch it. And home invasion movies are always kind of like, ooh, because you never know if that could happen in real life. I can see a lot of people enjoying Get Out and Escape Room more than Hush, but for me personally, it's gonna go above those two. Still not as fun as Cult of Chucky, but still very good, and I could watch it again and again. Speaking of watching it again and again, we have Incident in a Ghostland, and I could not watch this over and over again. I think it is a very well-made movie. I love the story and kind of like the twist on what's real and what's not. But damn, the two girls that are being just attacked and messed with in this movie, it is so hard to watch. It is so, ugh. Like, this movie is an ick, but also, I enjoyed it quite a bit, but the bad stuff is, oh, I don't want to watch it. It's just like Hereditary, but I could probably rewatch Hereditary before I'd rewatch Incident in a Ghostland. I'm gonna put it in great, very bottom of great. It'll be the last thing in great when all is said and done. I almost guarantee it, because I don't know if I'd ever watch it again. And now we have the movie that got me into the horror genre. This plus watching Dead Meat and The Kill Counts. Once I started watching The Kill Count, and once I saw It 2017 in theaters, I believe one of the first horror movies I ever saw in theaters, I was like, damn, horror? It's pretty scary. It's pretty wacky. But damn, is it fun. I love horror so much, and It 2017 is a big reason for that. I'm gonna put it above The Conjuring 2. The kid actors do a great job. Bill Skarsgård does a fantastic job as Pennywise the Clown. There are a lot of creepy visuals. In my opinion, it is one of the best horror movies, not just within the past 10 years, but it's one of my favorites of all time. It's top of best. And now moving on to It Chapter 2. Wish I could be like, damn, this movie was just as good as the first, but it was just okay. It Chapter 2 felt like it dragged out forever. I know it wasn't insanely long, but it felt like at least 3 hours when I was watching it. The kids are now adults, and the casting is pretty good. Bill Hader's in it, and I love me some Bill Hader. I love that guy. And overall, It Chapter 2 is a solid movie. It's fine, but, you know, the first one was just so good, and it sucks it couldn't live up to that. Plus, the ending of how they defeat the clown, or it, or Pennywise, whatever you want to call it, it was just so underwhelming. They just like bully him. They're like, yeah, I'm not afraid of you. You look ugly. And Pennywise slowly turns into this like deflated balloon. Like, this movie just did not hit at all. Well, it's not the worst thing ever, and there are still some very cool moments in it, like the funhouse, like Pennywise banging his head off the funhouse mirrors and eating that kid. That's all cool. That's awesome. But it was just nowhere near as good as the first It. It's a mix of kind of being let down and also just not being as good as the first one by any means. It's gonna go in good, probably above The Boy, probably above Better Watch Out. Yeah, I think that's a good place to put it. And now we have Jigsaw, one of my least favorite Saw movies, but it is still good. Every Saw movie kind of has a twist to it. This one, they kind of just did the twist just for there to be a twist, just for the sake of the twist. While it is cool, and I'm like, whoa, did not see that coming, and that's wild. You know, adding, oh, this guy was here from the very beginning. Before Hoffman, before Amanda. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, you're telling me this is the first time we've seen this man? Alright, whatever. And while the swerve is cool and all, and some of the traps are okay, it's just definitely one of the weaker Saw films. You know, I can watch it. I've seen it like 3 or 4 times. It's probably one of the Saw movies I've seen the most, which is ironic considering I don't care for it that much. I love pretty much all the Saw movies except for Spiral. That thing can just go somewhere else. Jigsaw, in the Saw franchise, this movie goes probably like middle of meh, but out of all the movies we have on this list, it'll probably go bottom of good, because at the end of the day, it is a Saw movie, and I'm gonna be a little biased because I like Saw, so bottom of good, but I can't really put it anywhere higher than that. Here we got Killer Sofa. The movie is about a killer sofa, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought this was gonna be absolute trash, and while it's not great, it still kind of hooked me. I was like, oh, okay, this actually isn't too bad. But I watched it once, could not tell you a single character's name, could not tell you how many characters are in it, could not tell you how many kills are in it, couldn't even describe a kill to you. I'm sure the sofa, like, uses one of its springs to slash someone to death. I don't know. But it is just silly. It's goofy. The sofa even has eyes, I think, and, like, gives an angry look out a window at one point. It's a killer sofa. It does its job, I guess. It's not going in no, believe it or not. I'm gonna put it above The Gallows, but it's still hanging around that meh tier. Even though I don't think I ever will, a small part of me kind of wants to rewatch it. It's Christmas time. Once again, we have another Christmas horror movie. This time we got Krampus. The cast, great. Love me some Adam Scott, and he's in it, so that's automatically putting it in at least good. I'm just kidding, but also I'm not. Krampus is a lot of fun. Again, it's one of those movies that I haven't seen in a while. I probably need to go back and rewatch it. But I do remember enjoying myself quite a bit while watching it. The design of Krampus himself is pretty cool. The old grandmother being like, oh, I know shit about Krampus. Me and him go way back. That's kind of fun. You got the gingerbread men running around and being crazy. I want to say this is maybe one of the most notable Christmas horror movies. This and Black Christmas, I'd say. I'll always have a fun time watching Krampus. It's gonna go in good. It's not a total standout for me, but I do enjoy it. I'll put it just underneath Annabelle Comes Home. Moving on to Leatherface now, the Leatherface origin story. I cannot tell you how many times this thing has come on the Sci-Fi Channel, but yet every time I watch it. While it's not great by any means, I do think it is not that bad. These crazy kids escape from a mental institute and take a nurse with them, and obviously one of the guys in this group is going to end up growing up to be Leatherface, and you'd kind of be surprised on which kid it actually is. There's some pretty cool moments, some nasty violence, and that's kind of what you want out of a Texas Chainsaw movie. It's not fantastic, but it keeps you entertained, and that's all I can ask for. I think I've watched it enough times where it's kind of grown on me a little bit, so bottom of good. Honestly, I might put it above Jigsaw. I don't hate this movie at all. I think a lot of people might be divided on this movie, but I honestly don't think it's all that bad, and I kind of like it. It's gonna go bottom of good. Next up, we have The Meg, and in my 2023 horror movie tier list, I said The Meg 2. I wanted it to end. It didn't need to be made. I stand by what I said about Meg 2, The Trench, but the first Meg is honestly a lot of fun. The cast is good. Jason Statham is a badass. The Meg is a little on the basic side, but, you know, it's what you want. You want Jason Statham going crazy with his crew, taking out a big killer shark. I like Jason Statham and Rainn Wilson, and they're both in this movie, so I think I might put it slightly above Leatherface, maybe a little under The Boy. Actually, maybe a bit above The Boy. Like I said, it's basic, but I was entertained by it. And I brought up The Nun earlier, and here she is. Valak is back. And The Nun, it is an okay movie. It is just average, fine, nothing to go crazy about. It probably should have been better. It's gonna go in meh above La Llorona. The first time I watched it, I did not like it at all, but recently I watched it a second time and I was like, oh, maybe I was a bit too hard on it. Still not good, but it's not terrible. There are a few boring moments, but also a few kind of like terrifying little situations, like being trapped in like the underground casket or whatever, being buried alive and having to ring that bell. That was kind of crazy. And obviously, since it's a Conjuring movie, there's gonna be some jump scares, and like I think one or two got me. I was like, oh, okay. Valak was kind of like the main demon for a couple of Conjuring movies, and they even made The Nun 2 for some reason. So I feel like it needed to be better, and it just wasn't. Now, this movie really surprised me. We have Ouija Origin of Evil. I've gone on record saying I don't care about like possession movies or whatever, you know, aside from The Conjuring, all the supernatural stuff. But Ouija Origin of Evil I thought was gonna be okay at best. But Ouija Origin of Evil was surprisingly pretty good. That kind of factors in on how I like rate it or review it, but there are still quite a few creepy moments in Ouija Origin of Evil. The family that we follow, you kind of care for, so that's good, because if you have someone that we don't really care for, who cares if they get possessed or whatnot. And while I believe it's a PG horror movie, there are some pretty like gnarly, I think, kills or just moments that happen are like, wow, okay, they're really crossing that line. Origin of Evil is gonna go somewhere in the middle of good, probably just slightly above Annabelle Comes Home. Next up is The Platform. It is on Netflix. I watched it for top 10 Netflix horror movies, and I think the concept is cool. They did a good job on it. I don't know. I didn't really like vibe with the movie. It didn't connect with me. There's a lot of gross moments, and I get that it's, yeah, like a prison where everybody has to share one platform of food as it goes down floor by floor. It's gonna have some nasty moments, but it has the same vibe as Hereditary, where everything's just like gloomy and dark and like, oh, dang. It's not really a fun watch, and I know it's not supposed to be, but that sort of has an effect on how I feel about a movie. But the story was good, and it is interesting to follow our main guy around to see how his adventure goes. But in my opinion, towards the end, it kind of drags a bit, and I didn't have a super great time watching this. I do think it is alright, though. So it's gonna land itself in good, and holy crap, we just got a lot of, like, good horror movies to come out in the years 2015 to 2019. Probably bottom of good. Honestly, it's better than The Nun, and I don't think it's a mess, so it's gonna sit at bottom of good, but it might be in that, like, that bridging territory. Next up is A Quiet Place, and oh boy, what a great idea for a horror movie. John Krasinski directed it, and John Krasinski, as well as the rest of the cast, are great. The huge monsters roaming around are also really cool. Everything about this movie just works. You have some holy crap moments like little Bo getting absolutely destroyed by a monster due to the little rocket ship. Every sound the characters make or could make is just like, it leaves you hanging off the edge of your seat going like, oh god. I really wish I got the chance to see A Quiet Place in theaters, but even watching it at home, on my computer, or on TV, every moment is still just as intense. It definitely is in the conversation for best horror movies to come out within the past like 25 years. I'm gonna put it above Get Out, above Escape Room. I think I'm gonna put it slightly above Hush, even though I think Hush, like, I don't know, I feel like I have a deeper connection with that movie. It's gonna go top of great. I don't know. For me personally, I like the more goofier stuff like Cult of Chucky, but A Quiet Place, what an insane movie. Next up is The Ritual, and while I didn't hate the movie, I just heard nothing but hype about it, and I finally got around to watching it. and I just thought it was okay. The group of friends sort of getting picked off one by one towards the end of the movie where they're kind of like realizing everything is just crazy. I had an alright time watching this, and while it's not the movie's fault, I just think all the hype for it and me just not caring about it too much kinda, brings the movie down a notch for me. But then you also got moments like the big giant Wendigo monster thing at the end, being all tall and scary. That's a big plus, but that's really one of my, only moments I can, be like, hey, that was pretty cool. Very bottom of good. Just nothing I would really ever go back and watch. Maybe I do need to rewatch it. I probably need to rewatch a lot of these. And now we got scary stories to tell in the dark. Now, most of my friends actually don't care about this movie. They don't think it's very good, but, for me, it's a PG horror movie. It's based off books that I read when I was younger and I thought were pretty creepy, and I think the movie does a great job of bringing those stories to life. The monsters, look pretty cool. And for some reason, just because I remember the Who Took My Big Toe story, that scene, even though it's not anything super scary, it still, gets me every time I watch it. I still get this, feeling inside me oh god. While I don't think it's the best horror movie, or I don't even think it's, really, really good, I do think it is decent enough. Within the past year, I've probably seen this movie a couple times. It's a nice movie to throw in the background, and I really do hope they make another one so we can see more monsters. I'm gonna put it above It Chapter 2, but just slightly under Krampus, so, right in the middle of the good tier. Next up is Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, another movie that originally wasn't gonna be on this tier list, but it came on Pluto TV, and I was like, hey, might as well watch it. I thought this was gonna be not anything too crazy, but it is a lot of fun. A great mix of horror and comedy. Surprise, surprise, it's made by the same dude that directed Freaky, one of my favorite horror movies ever. I believe Christopher Landon is his name. I think he was going to direct the new Scream movie, but after all the crap that's happened with that, he said, yeah, no, I'm out. But sticking with Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, I was so surprised by how, funny this movie was. I thought, it was gonna be a horror comedy, because I, saw a few jokes in there and be like, oh, okay. But I really thought a lot of them wouldn't land with me. But surprisingly enough, I thought a lot of it was funny. The violence was pretty cool. And I've seen plenty of zombie movies, and this still wasn't a drag or a bore to me. I thought it was very fun. It's gonna go in the good tier, probably above, probably just under Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I only watched it once recently, and it was broken apart into a couple of watches. I caught it halfway through, and it came on later, and I watched what I missed. So if I watch it in full, start to finish, maybe it'll bump it up a little bit higher on this list. But for now, in the middle of good. And here we have Slender Man. I heard nothing but bad things about this movie, and a few months ago, I finally watched it for the first time, and oh boy, there was just nothing about this movie I cared about. This movie is not good, and while it's probably on the same level of The Gallows, just because I was like, wow, everybody's complaints are actually really valid and this movie is really bad, I think it's gonna go in no. I gave The Gallows the benefit of the doubt, saying, while I did not like it whatsoever, there were still some creepy moments, and I'm not going to put it in the same tier with Clownado and 1413 Cameras, but Slender Man, I can't recall a single, oh, that was really creepy, that was a cool moment. This movie is just almost all bad. I'm sure there's some redeeming qualities about it, but right now, I can't think of them. Next up is The Strangers Prey at Night, the sequel to The Strangers. I prefer this over the first Strangers movie. I watched it again recently, and you know what? It is kind of just hey, the same characters from the first one, but attacking at a different setting. It's just violence, not really any story to it. It's mainly these guys are gonna attack this poor family staying at a trailer park, and it's just carnage. And while, it's that's really all the movie is, it's still a lot of fun to watch. I love the man in the mask, just kind of like a throwback Jason Voorhees look. The two doll-faced killer ladies are also, pretty creepy to look at. You got the pool scene with the Total Eclipse of the Heart playing. That scene is awesome, one of my favorite horror movie scenes ever. Just the music, all the neon lights, very, very cool. I'm gonna put it above Annabelle Comes Home, above Ouija, slightly above Brightburn, slightly above Hellfest. You know what? The more I think about it, I was like, oh, it's going to go top of good, but the more I'm looking at what I put in good, I think this is a little bit higher than the other movies in good. I'm going to put it bottom of great. I think the story of Ghostland is better, but The Strangers is just fun, nonsensical violence, and I like it. I'm going to put it just a little under Get Out. I have a blast watching it every time I see it. Next is Terrifier, and while I think all the violence and gore, like I was saying about Strangers, the nonsensical violence is fun. Terrifier is like that, but crank it up. Maybe it's because it has so much hype around it. I don't know. After watching Terrifier 2 recently, I was like, damn, a lot of cool gore, but I do kind of want a story every now and then. Gets more of like the benefit of the doubt because like it's the first one, probably not much money going towards it, but still very cool kills, very crazy gore. Art the Clown is pretty much an icon now in the horror genre, but this movie just doesn't do too much for me. I think it's a fun watch one time, but would I ever go back and rewatch it? Maybe. If I do, will I carry the same feeling of like, oh, that was fun? I kind of have my doubts about that. So while it's not bad, there's just nothing to it except, oh, look at the cool kills. So it's gonna go in good, but towards the very bottom, I was kind of let down by The Ritual, and the platform, I think, has at least a fun story. Probably in between there. And you know what? I'm moving The Ritual down to meh. I was debating on it earlier, and now just seeing what movies are where. I think Ritual, although it has some fun quality to it, and there's a couple of decent moments to it, it probably just belongs with these other movies down here, in my opinion. I'm sorry if you like The Ritual. Next up is Truth or Dare, and while it's kind of like Slender Man, where all I heard was bad things about the movie, I watched it for the first time not too long ago, and you know what? I didn't hate it. It wasn't good, but I didn't hate it. It's gonna go in meh. I think the concept is kind of cool, like a deadly game of truth or dare. Like the truths are like, whoa, it could ruin relationships, and the dares are like, ho ho, you better watch the F out with these dares, buddy. And it kind of gets crazier and crazier as it goes along. I feel like one of its main downfalls, though, is the main takeaway is like, at least for me, is like the stupid fucking faces that almost made me not want to watch Smile. But then the reviews for Smile were really good, so I checked it out. I was like, oh, thank God I did, because Smile was pretty good. But the faces in Truth or Dare, holy crap, it's just so dumb. Snapchat filter, just, So while it's not terrible, I wouldn't say it's good. It's gonna go in meh. Another Jordan Peele movie, we have Us. Again, the cast is fun. Seeing the whole underground area and all the duplicates of people is wild. The main family we look at getting attacked by all their duplicates is just, I don't know, this movie has a lot of cool, like, moments in it. Just like Get Out and Happy Death Day, it's a movie that I know I had, like, a lot of fun watching, but I probably need to go back and rewatch it just for more meat on the bones description stuff. It's probably gonna go top of good. I enjoyed it more than Hereditary, but it kind of is in that Happy Death Day situation where I really enjoyed it, but it's been so long since I've seen it. I can't just be like, oh, I remember it being good, so I'm gonna put it in great. It's gonna sit at the top of good. I do remember enjoying it more than Hereditary. Visually, story-wise, casting, it's a good movie. And to complete the 3 movies that weren't going to be on here, trifecta, we have We Summon the Darkness. Alexandra Daddario, I believe, helped produce this or something like that. I remember seeing that as the credits were scrolling by. Johnny Knoxville's in it, which caught me so off guard. It's another movie where I caught it halfway through on Pluto TV, and I was like, okay, it's like a home invasion or something like that. And then freaking Johnny Knoxville walks up and he's like a corrupt pastor. And I'm like, whoa, Johnny Knoxville? Hell yeah. But then I finally got to watch it again from start to finish. And you know what? It's a pretty fun movie. There are some moments where it's like, you know, it kind of drags at some moments, but there's some fun to be had with it. It's not anything super great by any means, but I did enjoy watching it. It's probably going to land itself somewhere towards the bottom or middle of good. I think right under the Meg and slightly over the Boy is a good fit for We Summon the Darkness. We're reaching the end of the tier list here. We have The Wretched, another surprising movie I watched for top 10 horror movies on Netflix. I thought it was going to be, alright, let me throw it on in the background and somewhat pay attention to it to see if it's any good, and it kind of hooked me. I thought the acting was good, there's some creepy moments. It involves a witch corrupting people of this town where this guy lives, and it's up to him to stop the witch from being all crazy and stuff. The witch is even taking kids into this like little hidey hole in a tree. It's pretty wacky, and some of the crazy things that the witch does is also like, whoa, okay, I see what we're doing here. So The Wretched, while it's not like a super standout movie, it did surprise me, and I did enjoy myself while watching it. I think I'll put it above It Chapter 2. I can't see it going any higher than that. And to end this tier list, we have Zombieland Double Tap. Zombieland, the first one of my favorite movies of all time, not just horror, just in general, one of my favorite movies of all time. Zombieland Double Tap came out 10 years, I think, after it. I was patiently waiting that whole time because I loved Zombieland so much. If they made a second one, I was going to be hyped for it, and they did. Tallahassee, Columbus, Little Rock, Wichita, they're all back. Although Little Rock kind of goes on her own little adventure, and she isn't really seen for too much of the movie, which is kind of a bummer. I'd rather the whole gang be there. We sort of get somewhat of a replacement in a way with Nevada, played by Rosario Dawson. She does a great job in this movie. The zombies in Zombieland are getting crazier and crazier. There's a lot of cool action sequences, just like in Elvis's Hotel, with like the one-shot Jesse Eisenberg and Woody Harrelson taking on basically their doppelgangers in a sense. That scene right there is amazing and one of my favorite horror movie sequences, like in recent memory. Although I don't love it as much as the first Zombieland, I still get so much enjoyment from it. I'm gonna put it right there at the very top of great, underneath Halloween 2018. While Halloween, Zombieland, and Annabelle Creation could maybe go in best, when I put them next to It 2017 and The Conjuring 2, I just think those two movies are a bit on a higher level. And there you have it, another tier list in the books. I feel like this one was longer. There's probably more movies to offer, but I do hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what your favorite movies from this time period are, and let me know what you think of the tier list. Let me know if you change anything, but I will see you in whatever video comes next. Bye-bye.